Here we go.
Hi Ryan,
Hey Shoaib,
how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks. Tell me about yourself.
So my name is Ryan Glover. I am the wide receivers graduate assistant for the football team here at St. Ambrose. And so that's a little bit about me. I like to hunt and I like to fish.
What do you do at your job?
So some of the stuff I do at my job, everyday basis, is I break down film. I have meetings with my players. We meet as a coaching staff, try to work on what we can do better as a coaching staff. Some of the other things that I do is basically try to influence my players in ways to be better, physically and also mentally off the field.
Could you tell me more about your coaching job?
So a little bit about my coaching job. I wake up at 8:30, or not wake up. I wake up about 7 a.m. every day. Usually at work about 8 o'clock. And when that day starts, like I said, I start breaking down film. Start working on what I can do to not only better my players, but better me as a coach. So I go through that. Then I watch film, see where our players need to get better at, where they're doing good at, but maybe we need to get up a little higher. And then weight room. I go in the weight room, watch the guys, mingle with them, and then we have practice. Usually during practice, I have about 30 minutes where I'm by myself with the receivers, and we work on our what we need to get better at, what we saw on film earlier that we need to get better at. Then we do team, and so that's pretty much how every day goes as a football coach. It's very repetitive, but at the end of the day, I love every second of it because I'm there at football. So.
A long day. Sounds to me so you are having a very long day at your job every day. So do you face any challenges?
So one challenge I have seen with our football team is our head coach. He's a great man. He treats us very well. But one thing I've seen is he doesn't like change. And when saying change, he likes to do something that he's done since he's been a head coach since 2006. So he goes back to 2006. With how football is played nowadays, you basically have to fight for the newer stuff, what makes me look better, and all that. And then also another challenge that I've seen is he calls our athletes kids. So that it's crazy. So he does that, and then when he talks to our players, he treats them more like they're 5 years old than like 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old young men. So that's some of the challenge I see, and so like I said, that's something that we hope we can break, but that's the challenge that I'm going through right now.
Oh, it sounds to me your challenge is more towards behavior. So what are you planning to do?
So as far as me dealing with that behavior, I don't like to talk to my players like kids. I've never used the word kid, I use them as young men. Another thing that I do is I try to have a personal relationship with them. And with saying that, I do outside things with them, but when I talk to them, I make them feel like I'm a father figure and not like a dictator in that perspective. So that's some of the stuff that I do with them. Now, as far as our coach, it's really hard. You can't really tell him what he can and can't do. I know we recently had a recruiting visit, and one of the parents actually brought that up to him and was like, "Did you know that you've called these recruits kids 10 times?" And so I think he knows he does it, but I don't think he knows how to stop it per se. So that's one of the things that we're having to adjust to.
So are you the one only working under him as a assistant coach?
There are 6 of us. There's 6 of us under him, including myself. And we all feel the same way. But it's one of those things like, me being from Texas, I'm here for literally one reason, that's for coaching football. I don't want to lose that job and now I'm out. And I think that's how all the rest of us are. We all agree on the same thing, but we don't know how to say it without fear of losing our jobs. So it's kind of a hard obstacle for us to do.
What would you do different if you get to a position of authority?
So one thing I would do differently per se would definitely be to be more personal with the players. And when saying that, like I said, our head coach is a great man. He takes care of us football coaches. But as far as players, they'll be in the weight room and he doesn't even know their names. And I've been here for 6 months, and I can tell you every player's name. He recruited these guys, has a relationship with them for over a year, and doesn't even know their names. So that's kind of the scary part. But like going into that, what I would do is I'd be more relationship, like talking to them, seeing what kind of person they are, all that stuff. But some other things I'd probably do is flare up the appearance of St. Ambrose. And I know that's not really much of my challenge, but one thing that I feel with the appearance is you make the players feel more confident. And when they have swagger, they start trusting their brothers.
True.
Don't know how that comes about. I don't know if it's just sports in general that happens, but one big thing that I think our football team lacks right now is trust, and that's because we have no relationships, or our head coach doesn't have a relationship with the team. So why is the team going to have trust in the head coach? So that's some of the things that we're adjusting to right now.
You were telling me about the appearance. So you will be changing appearance of the players. So tell me more about that.
So I'm a big flare guy. The university I just came from, we had over 126 different combos of jerseys and pants and all that. But talking about appearance, like I said, our head coach lives 10 years ago, not 10 years now. And so we had a chance to do a jersey order this year. Well, we've always been white, we've always been navy. Our head coach, what do you think he went with? He went with white.
Oh.
So all of us other coaches were like, man, coach, you gotta go with the charcoal gray, gotta get something else in there, gotta get a little color wheel going.
Sure.
And so some of the other things that I think we need to work on, maybe logos, making our brand more noticeable. Basically, our coaches are the only ones wearing stuff. You don't have our players wearing stuff, so I think we need to get our brand out there. One thing that we've started doing, which is a really good idea, is on Twitter we go by the hashtag Bring the Sting. So that's kind of unique because it's something that's St. Ambrose. So that's like a stepping point, but we need to keep going. We can't just go one step every 10 years. We got to go up that ladder, you know what I'm saying?
I got you.
So that's some of the stuff that we need to do appearance-wise. And like I said, we get some of those steps done. Our players are feeling it. They're going to have trust in each other. And so I think that's something that we need to do as a stepping stone.
What would you do different for building teams?
Building teams. So like different from my head coach perspective, to be honest, I'd be more personable. When being more personable, I feel like you get the most out of your players. One thing, like I said earlier, our head coach, he talks down to them. I'd like it to be a conversation like this, where it's going back and forth, and you know, I trust you, you trust me, and we have that kind of relationship. Now going based off of that is one thing that I think players really like, being a player myself, they really like the on the field, like on the field and off the field are two different things. On the field, we can be talking about football all day. But once we're off the field, let's talk about something else. Because you don't want to talk about football 100% of the time because it kind of gets repetitive, it gets boring, and that's not the only common thing you want to have with your players. So something that I would do is I'd have more outside events. With saying that I'd play like dodgeball. You're still getting an exercise out of them, but you're having fun doing it. Maybe doing movie night. Maybe, now you couldn't, but you could do it like position coach wise, take them out to eat once a week, like take them to your house, all that stuff. So that's something that I would do if I was in charge of a program.
Sounds good to me. Could you tell me how many players have you been in touch, like you were talking about building relationship or building teams? Have you ever had any player come that close to you?
And so that's a very good question. We had a receiver this past year, and I just got here 8 months ago, and his name was Brad Connor. He was a senior this year, 4-time All-Conference, but I only coached him for 4 months. I talk to him every week now, and he's not even here anymore. He's back in Texas, and me and him talk every week, and we don't even talk about football. We talk about, hey, how's life out in Texas going? How's your girlfriend doing? All that stuff, and it has nothing to do with football, but that's kind of the relationship that me and him have. And it's kind of crazy, like, our head coach was with him for 3 years and doesn't know what he's doing now. I coached him for 4 months, and me and him have a better relationship than our head coach. So that's something that kind of is an eye-opener for me in perspective.
That sounds good to me. You're heading to the right way of being a head coach in your future. Thank you, Ryan. That was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you, Shoaib.